Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video, we're doing the one that everybody enjoys the most and is the happiest, most go-lucky video there ever will be. It's the top 10 worst Marvel Legends. A few years ago I decided I wasn't going to do these anymore. It's not fun. But you guys keep asking for them, so who am I? Who am I to deny you that? So here we are, we're going to do it. These are the top 10 worst figures I could come up with for Hasbro Marvel Legends. They're, I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of pushback on some of these, but you know what? That's the nature of things. If you don't like what I did on this list, let me know what your list would be, or let me know how I was wrong, or whatever, and we'll talk about it in the comment section below. But let's go ahead and see what we can come up with. Okay, starting with number 10, we have Justice, and I'm not putting him on here just because I don't know the character at all. I'm putting him on here because he's not a top tier character, and Hasbro did really nothing to make him a desirable figure. There's actually some new sculpting on here besides just the head, and he still looks so frumpy and dumpy, and the paint job on there is just not good enough to carry this character through me wanting to own it. It's like the perfect example of how not cool Hasbro's comic characters look 90% of the time. Coming in at number 9, I think I might be ruffling some feathers here. It's Angel, and this figure's not terrible, but it also is not anywhere near worth the price point, and the new sculpting they did for the body just isn't good enough. They take everything that they make new, and instead of making it the best thing ever, they make it another mediocre to bad garbage. Not literally everything, obviously there are some good ones, but this is another example of how Hasbro just doesn't put the effort in. Maybe they do it on purpose, maybe it's intentional obsolescence so that they can keep making new product to sell. I mean, that's super nefarious, I don't know, but either way, the products aren't good enough, and they certainly don't justify higher price points. Coming in at number 8, we have the Last Stand Spider-Man. I think it's a Spider-Man design that people have wanted figures of, or at least a figure of, for a very, very long time. It's a really cool look for Spider-Man. It's certainly not the most mainstream thing, so people were thinking we're never going to get one. And we finally get one, and Hasbro just puts about zero effort into it. Almost literally none. Like, they had to do some new sculpting in order to make it, but I could tell they didn't want to do that, and they certainly didn't want to do it in a way that made the figure any good. This is a Spider-Man figure that basically needs to just stand straight up and down. He can't really pose at all, other than, like, I don't know, a 90s figure, like a 5 POA sort of thing. So, yeah, super disappointing. They could have just come out with a really, really cool figure that would have gotten people interested who didn't actually want this version of Spider-Man. They might have picked it up, whereas they made something where even the people who did want it don't want it anymore. So, yeah, super unfortunate. One of my personal favorite looks for Spider-Man, and they just totally missed the mark. Actually, I don't even think they were aiming at the mark, but you know what I mean. Coming in at number 7, we have Red Widow. It's another character that I don't know a ton of people really wanted figures of, and so it would stand to reason to me that they would make it extra good to try to push those sales. Instead, they spent money on new sculpting and then didn't make it very good at all. Kind of like Last Stand Spider-Man, this figure is not really meant to pose very much at all, and it doesn't look very good. And the cape thing, the cape boob, I don't think the cape boob was a good idea, but they put it on there, and so now we have to live with it. Or don't if you don't buy it, which is definitely what I would recommend. In at number 6, we have the 97 Magneto. Now, the problem with this figure is it has potential to be good very easily. They spent money on new sculpts for what was kind of necessary, and it could have been great, but instead they made it look like a frumpy, dumpy old guy doing cosplay, and it just doesn't have the right look for Magneto. It's not imposing at all. It's quite unimposing, in fact, and the head's too big and the cape is terrible. And it just looks goofy and dorky and lame, and I don't think there's any comic characters— that's not true, there are definitely some that look goofy and dorky and lame. There shouldn't be ones that aren't supposed to that do. Like, this action figure line should, if anything, stylize them even more, make them even cooler. I think we have to go back to what Todd says, which is make it look cool. You guys know there's no love lost between McFarlane Toys and myself, but I think that idea would really help Hasbro make their products better. They don't look cool like 90% of the time, and this is another perfect example. Coming in at number 5, we have the new Moon Knight, which actually uses the cape from Magneto, and it looks even worse here. This Moon Knight might be the goofiest figure Hasbro has released in a long time. Now, it's not the worst, but it is the goofiest looking, with that head sitting so high up with that goofy cape. I don't know how anybody can justify this one. It's about as low effort as you can possibly get. It makes the Moon Knight character, which is pretty darn cool for a simple design, look absolute trash. Like, it's so bad looking. I don't know how anybody could want this in their collection, unless they're just really into Moon Knight and have a thing for a product no matter the quality. Coming in at number 4, we have Dracula. Now, I know a lot of people said this is an excellent release, and that's kind of the thing, is it could have been. It's so close to being really good. There's new sculpt work that would have stood out if they did it properly, if they made it look anywhere near as good as he looks in the source material. He's so imposing and cool looking in the source material that it makes the figure look that much worse. Like, they didn't get anywhere near what he's supposed to look like. The face is off, the head shape is off, the body shape is off, and then on top of that, they did their Hasbro thing where they just put no paint on the thing and make it look really bad. So yeah, like, it could have been awesome, and I understand why some of you are enjoying the figure, and if you do, great, but on paper, it's really not what it should have been at all. If you don't believe me, just Google it and see what he's supposed to look like, because it's so much better than how the figure turned out. Coming in at number 3, we have the infamous Spider Shot, a figure that just has no business being as bad as it is, even for Hasbro standards. Now, the only reason I don't put him higher on the list is because there are things that bother me even more. This does reuse a lot of parts, so I'm giving him some slack, but still, that hip situation is just, it's unbelievable to me that any real company has released something that looks like this. Somebody along the line had to have seen that and thought, well, that's terrible, do it anyway. That's Hasbro's MO, guys. That's the problem with Hasbro right there. There's nobody that's in charge of anything that cares. Or if they do, they're not standing up for what matters, and so we end up with products like this. Okay, coming in at number 2, this one might have some contention, but I have to stand by what I said in my review. This figure is all new sculpt, and it's nowhere near screen accurate. It's not even close, and it makes Colossus look like a big fat doofus rather than a really imposing metal guy who's bigger and stronger than everyone. I know some people were saying, but the figure looks better than the movie. Well, okay, if you think that, good, I'm glad you enjoy the figure, but it doesn't look like the movie, and that's what it's supposed to be, and I'm willing to bet most people think the movie looks better than the fat-bellied, weird-hipped, chunky guy that Colossus is in plastic, rather than on the screen where he's actually very V-shaped and muscular and imposing. And so this figure is a giant fail, and it's a bigger fail because it's all new. They're not trying to make old stuff work. They made it all new and still screwed it up. So that really is just an unacceptable situation, if you ask me. And finally, we have number 1. It is the new Wolverine figure, which it's mind-boggling to me that people are arguing against this, because it's just so blatantly right in front of your face bad. He's got birthing hips. If nothing else, he's got birthing hips. He's a pear-shaped Wolverine that isn't anywhere near as cool looking in costume as a real-life Hugh Jackman is. And it's hard to make real-life people look like comic characters, and Hugh Jackman pulls it off pretty darn well. Yet the figure goes in the exact opposite direction. It looks like somebody's doing cosplay at a low-tier convention. Not even a high-tier. This is low-tier cosplay. It's not even good. And they managed to do that. It's like, it's all new stuff. You have to sculpt it. You have to make it from scratch. How do you not do it correctly? Are they not looking at source material? Better yet, because even, let's say they didn't have any source material for Wolverine or Hugh Jackman or anything like that. They don't even know what humans look like. They don't know what humans look like because this is not it. Those hips are not it. And then we have the goofy masked head that looks absolutely terrible. The only saving grace for this figure is the unmasked head, which is actually admittedly awesome. But it came with a really crappy figure, so hopefully they do a reissue with the bare arms and the unmasked head. And that would be cool. But this figure is not. This figure is really, really, really bad. And if people want to argue with me, then hey, that's your prerogative. But you're wrong. So we're going to end it there. Alright guys, that's it. That's my top 10 list of the worst Marvel Legends. It's a tricky one to put together, but we made it through. So again, let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. We'll talk in the comment section below as much as I'm able to. I probably won't get to everybody's comments, but I'll try. I do have other videos, other top 10 videos coming for the rest of, at least through Christmas. I have 3 more coming, so make sure you stick around for those. But if you don't want to, I understand. If this got you so upset that you just can't take anymore, I fully understand. But the other videos are probably going to be more fun because they're not just Marvel Legends, they're everything. The top 10, the bottom 10, and my favorite picks for the year of 2024. So do make sure you come back for that if you can absolutely just try your hardest after this video. I think it might make up for it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos every single day except for maybe around New Year's Eve, New Year's Day sort of situation. But otherwise, I do have thousands of videos already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.